Please welcome Martha. Life changes in a snap. In 1990, when I became a mediator with the Dayton Mediation Center, I never realized that taking that training was going to change my life because I would meet the man who would become my husband. But that's exactly what happened. The trainer was Dan, big guy with a great smile. People gravitated to Dan because of his kindness, his intelligence, and his sense of humor. If he teased you, you knew that meant he liked you because the teasing was so gentle. Dan saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and he encouraged me. We started to mediate together, and as we spent more time together, we realized that we just clicked. You might think that we were an unlikely couple. Dan was a widower with a son and a daughter. I had never been married. I had no children of my own. Dan wasn't put off by any of that. He was very gentle with me, and he also really wanted to try to take care of me. For my part, I understood that he and his children had gone through a very difficult loss with the death of his first wife. So I was a ready listening ear, and I never wanted to control or change him. So we started to build a life together. I moved in with Dan and his daughter, and we got married. In 2002, we built a house with a big deck in the back and trees that come almost up to the railing. Great place for entertaining. We've had many get-togethers on that deck, family and friends, people just out there enjoying themselves in each other's company. We also started to travel. We went to Australia and saw the Great Barrier Reef under the water. We traveled to Alaska, to these small towns where native people carve and hand paint these gorgeous totems, very, very tall. Each of them has its own special story. We drank wine in Italy. We tasted port in Portugal. We smoked cigars in Cuba. We even went through the Panama Canal. Life was good. So as the years go by, we start thinking, okay, at some point, we're not going to have our day jobs to take up our time. So what do we want to do for our next chapter? And of course, travel is at the very top of that list. I retired in 2019. He had already been retired. So we decided we were going to rebook a river cruise that we had done from Amsterdam to Budapest because we love just gliding down the river. You're seeing this beautiful countryside in Germany and Austria, stopping off in these towns along the way, and you're wandering around and seeing medieval architecture and going into these beautiful cathedrals and finding these little shops. We just loved it so much, we said, we're going to retake that trip. So we were all set to do that in 2020, but March 2020, the pandemic happens. And like everybody else, we have to stay home because everything is shut down. But my fondest memories of the pandemic, believe it or not, for those 2 summers, 20 and 21, Dan and I spent every night out on that deck. We bought a big green egg, which is a large ceramic-coated cast iron cooking vessel. So we're out there on the deck. He is grilling steaks or burgers, because of course he loves red meat. He's smoking pork loins. We even made pizza on that big green egg, and everything tasted great. It was just so nice sitting out there, surrounded by trees, listening to the birds, watching the sunset, the daylight shift into twilight, enjoying each other's company and this good meal that we had prepared together. It was like a warm embrace during that very uncertain time period. So 2022 rolls around. We're going to pick right back up where we started off. We already had 2 trips booked. We were looking at taking a couple short ones, and then we had other ones that we were considering to add to the schedule, but that's not what happened. In April of 2022, Dan was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, which came as a complete shock to both of us, because literally it was as if it was out of the blue. And we wondered, if he doesn't have symptoms, how can this be stage 4 already? Did somebody maybe make a mistake? Possibly. But it was not a mistake. Dan decided that he wanted to have chemo, and that took place in June and into July. And then towards the end of July, he told me that if he were to go before August 1, I would have to pay back the death benefit from his first wife's pension that he was getting, that was deposited into our checking account. On July 30th, he said to me that he felt it was time for him to go into hospice care, which he did. And then Dan passed away on August the 1st. Up to the end of his life, he was still trying to take care of me. Afterwards, I felt like someone threw me into a box and slammed on the lid and shook it up and dumped everything out on the floor. I was so numb with shock as I tried to pick up the pieces of my life, but those pieces don't fit back together now. I didn't just lose my husband, I lost my best friend. I lost my mentor and my traveling companion. I have learned that grief is not my enemy. In my experience, grief walks beside love, because grief is about love. For me, it's a placeholder in my heart for Dan and all of my lost loved ones that I will carry with me in spirit only now. So as I look to the future, I'm trying to figure out, who do I want to be as I create a new life now, sadly, just for me? And how can I best honor his memory within that life? And also, I'm going to keep my eyes open to be ready for the next time that life changes in a snap. Thank you.